This episode is brought to you by Hosting.com, the trusted hosting partner built for agencies and creators. With optimized WordPress performance, expert support, and scalable plans, Hosting.com helps agencies deliver faster, more reliable websites. Explore hosting plans designed for pros at Hosting.com.
From blogging about SEO as a teenager to building tools that redefine how we measure visibility in the age of AI, today's guest has lived every chapter in search history. Welcome to WP Legends. I'm Gautam Khurana, co-founder of Seahawk Media and host of the show where we talk to the people shaping the open web. Today, I'm joined by Malte Landwehr, CTO and CMO at Peak AI, the startup pioneering generative engine optimization or GEO, helping brands understand how they are mentioned, cited, and recommended inside AI systems like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. Malte's story runs deep through the evolution of search. Before Peak, he led SEO at Idealo, scaling organic visibility across Europe and spent 5 years at Searchmetrics, blending analytics, product marketing, and data science. Earlier, he ran one of Germany's top SEO blogs, advised startups, and even contributed to academic research for IBM and Vodafone. Now, as part of Peak's founding team, he's helping marketers navigate the shift from blue links to AI answers, arguing that GEO will be 100 times stronger than SEO in the years ahead. Today, we'll explore how AI is changing discovery, what early data from Peak reveals about visibility inside LLMs, and why search, as we know, is about to be rewritten. Malte, welcome to WP Legends.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to see you here. And we just missed each other meeting in London. You just told me before we started recording like a week, but you were there for Diwali and you saw fireworks. And now I am in India recording this episode. And I came across your profile. I looked at Peak. I signed up and I was so excited. And I'm glad that you accepted this invite. But let's go back to 20 years. How are you feeling 20 years, SEO 20 years ago and today? How are you feeling all about that?
It's a very different thing. 20 years ago, SEO for me was something I was learning about with my own website and just doing very operationally. And now it's something where I have a more strategic view and think about how it affects companies and business models. And of course, what we do in SEO has also changed completely, right? Like it was all about getting to static URLs and getting keywords into these URLs and writing URL wrappers around parameterized URLs because supposedly those might be bad, and then just stuffing everything full of keywords. And today it's really more about a very strategic approach, like what search intent can I actually satisfy with my content and how do I make Google aware of that and how can I create something unique. So completely different worlds, I would say, 20 years ago and now.
I have a question for you, and I know the answer, but I would love to get your perspective, okay? And for the perspective of my viewers, because I love SEO. I just told you, like, I can't code. I have a great team of coders in place for my WordPress stuff, but I love SEO, and I could just keep on learning about SEO. Do you think SEO has become easier or more difficult than ever before?
Ooh. I think both.
Okay, let's hear your perspective. I would love to hear your perspective.
Let me explain. In the past, it was very easy for me as a student to wake up one day, decide I now buy and build an affiliate website about this topic. I could build it, build some links, it would rank. It was almost like guaranteed. Like when I was a student, I had 50 affiliate websites.
Wow.
And nowadays, you can work with a whole team. But if your idea is not good, or if you try to tackle a topic for which you need a ton of authority and brand and trust, you might fail. So I think it's become more difficult if you are starting from scratch and just want to build a website for SEO. I think it's become more easier if you are a real brand with real authority, followers, with a real product or service, because Google and other systems have gotten better at recognizing these brand signals or EAT signals or however you want to call them.
Cool.
So it's nowadays, if you have a real brand with real mentions in the media, real followers, real fans, excuse me, people searching for your product, then SEO has become easier, and you can now actually win against the people who's just buying links and content.
I'm with you. I think that's a very, very good answer. I always tell people the simplest way is like, I think it's become more difficult than ever before because let's say you have a tour company for Germany and you're organizing Oktoberfest tours. You could rank 10 years ago within like a week or something like that if you implemented correct meta titles, descriptions, and image alt tags got a million backlinks which you can buy on Fiverr or somebody elsewhere, etc. But now, if you do that, it's near impossible to rank for years and years, unless what you mentioned is true. So I think it's become very, very difficult in most cases. But yes, with brands and authority, you've got that spot on. But what was the moment you realized, okay, enough of the companies who I've worked with, I need to do something of my own, and peak happened? What was the biggest reason you decided that, okay, peak, I'm going to get into this?
Yeah, I was on vacation with my wife in
Okay.
South Korea for 2 weeks,
Okay.
and I set myself a challenge not to use Google just for fun. And I did use Google like 10, 12 times. Like twice I was looking for a website, and otherwise it was spell checking for a word.
Okay.
The rest of my searches I did with ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Like
Okay.
everything, like what to do, how expensive will this ticket be, where do I have to go to buy the train ticket, everything I did with ChatGPT. And maybe there were hallucinations, I don't know, but none of them affected me negatively. Like I have the feeling I had a great vacation, saw a lot of things. And then when we came back from vacation, I realized this shift from like 10 blue links to getting an answer, it's happening much, much quicker than I expected. And also in the past, when I was on vacation and I used my phone and Google, I would always end up on countries, on websites in a language I don't speak. There would be like geo redirects. It would be horrible usability. I would have to scroll on my phone to like find the one snippet of text on the website I cared about. And having all of that in the ChatGPT chat interface was a much better experience. So I was really sure it's gonna change significantly how people consume information, consume content, and then make decisions. And we landed back in Germany on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already talking to the Peak AI team. We were thinking about hiring someone to help them who has an SEO background, who knows about GEO or AEO, whatever you want to call it. And then basically out of the blue, they wrote me like, hey, don't you want to join? And I was like, yeah, I was just thinking about that. So I went to the office on Saturday to negotiate my contract. I slept over it, discussed with my wife, signed on Sunday.
Okay.
And then on Monday, I resigned at my job that I had back
Unbelievable.
then at Idealo.
All because you were trying to find the best fried chicken place in South Korea to pair with soju or something like that, and because you did not get what you wanted, and you had to use Google. Kind of. Is that? I think that's what you did. It. But anyways, explain if you're meeting for somebody who's not technical, who's got a decent amount of budget to rank on Google for SEO. How would you explain what Peak does and what's most importantly GEO in like the simplest English?
Yeah, so let's start with what GEO is.
Okay.
I mean, it's very similar to SEO, but it is not about getting you to rank in a traditional search engine with 10 blue links where your website or URL would rank.
Okay.
It is about getting your brand or your product or your name recommended in the answers from the LLM-based search and answer engines, which is primarily right now ChatGPT, but also Google AI overviews. That would be like the simplest thing. And then there are some differences, of course, with traditional search engines. You click on a link, you land on a website. If you ask ChatGPT for a recommendation, it will often only tell you the brand without a link. So there is less of these like direct clicks, direct attribution, which makes everything a bit more messy, a bit more difficult. And then what Peak AI is doing, we are helping you in the first step to understand what are prompts that you might want to monitor. And then we run each of these prompts every single day in all the LLMs you want to track with us. and we simulate the behavior of a real user. So we actually go to the web interface in a simulated browser. And then we extract how visible are you, who are your competitors, how visible are your competitors, and most importantly, which sources are the LLMs using to generate their answers, or where are they citing parts of the answer from. And then we also download all of those URLs and we check, is your brand mentioned there? And then we can create interesting reports like, here are URLs that are regularly cited by LLMs where your competitors are mentioned, but you are not mentioned. Or we can show you things like, in 20% of the cases, the LLMs are citing content created by your competitors on your competitors' domains, but they never cite your domain. And here are the content pieces with which your competitors are most successful. So that can inform your content strategy, for example. And yeah, we try to bring transparency into something that is otherwise very intransparent.
I love it. By the way, I didn't tell you this, but I signed up as a free trial. I put in my own site, Seahawk Media, to get an understanding of a few things. I didn't know it's way more than this. And I used one keyword, white label WordPress development or white label WP development, something like that. And I was glad to see my site was being picked up and, again and again. But I didn't realize that it also shows you the competitors and a lot of other stuff. I think I need to upgrade my account. Maybe I'll ask you for a discount code after this interview.
I already made a note to upgrade your account after this.
but honestly speaking, what you're trying to do is so crucial because there's no rule book. Like why? We know the reason that why AI will give you a recommendation is because of citations. But in your own words, can you explain like you have actually said somewhere AI visibility is about citations, not positions. So like what does it mean? How many citations do you need? Is there any definite answer to it?
There's no definite answer.
Yeah.
How I see it is like this. With traditional search engines, you have this very clear ranking, right? You have URL1, URL2, URL3.
Okay.
But now if you ask ChatGPT for something, the answer is not a list of URLs, right? It's often a text, maybe it's a list, maybe it's a table. And within this text, different entities are mentioned. So if you ask, I don't know, what are the 5 best car companies? It might mention BMW, Mercedes, Tesla, and then, I don't know, Ford or
Of course.
Toyota or something. And as humans, it's clear to us these entities are the relevant ones. But what if it says in their Sixt or Hertz, these car rental companies, these are also entities, but they are not car companies, right? And it's not,
Cool.
or not, they are not car manufacturers. They are companies in the car space. But this is not labeled. Like this has to be interpreted. So,
True.
or you can have an answer where it says, here are 5 brands, but this is the best one. And then it's the last brand that is mentioned in the answer, but it's the actual recommendation. And if you were to apply basic SEO logic, okay, we identify the brands and the one that is first mentioned is number 1. Or you can also ask a prompt like, tell me 5 cars I should avoid. And then being on that list is maybe not the best. So there's really a big difference, first of all, to what even it means to rank or to be visible. And then with the citations, what is happening there is the LLMs don't have current knowledge.
Okay.
So they need to do a form of, Google calls this grounding, others call it web search. If you want to be a bit technical, it's sometimes called RAG. It basically means they take your prompt, they create a couple of so-called fan-out queries. These they put in a traditional search index, which in many cases actually is Google or Bing. And with that, they get a list of documents that are ranking for these keywords, for these fan-out queries.
Okay.
And out of those documents, they select a couple, and those they actually download and cite. And that's how they get current information. That is also how, as an LLM provider, you can basically shift the blame for an answer if somebody asks a question that you don't want to answer.
True.
Like, who is the better president? Many companies don't want to take a stance on this, right? And then you can say, according to this source, it's this and this. Or stuff like, is coffee healthy or not? Like every 5 years, the opinions change, right? Is coffee healthy? is it maybe good for the heart, or is it unhealthy because it's dehydrating you? And for these kinds of things, I think LLMs always will have an incentive to show, yeah, I cited this study, or this is the source I cited. And of course, you get in very recent information, like what is the weather today.
Honestly speaking, if anybody says coffee is not healthy for you, I won't care, because I'm a caffeine addict, like literally a caffeine addict, and I will have as much as I want. But you are so right. That's so spot on. Listen, our viewers, like all the viewers of the show, understand that how important citations are, and it's. I think considering the next 1 or 2 years, as LLMs are evolving, it is only going to get better and better. Every day it's getting better. Every week I can see improvements in how results are coming, right? Or considering, let's understand this. Now, Peak is obviously looking at all the data in the background, all the queries in the background, etc. Do you think AI systems are favoring some very official sources like Wikipedia, etc., or is it like that, or is it not doing that according to you?
I mean, the term favoring, I don't know, but definitely they rely heavily on it. And
Okay.
this is different between LLMs.
Okay.
So, for example, ChatGPT
Mhm.
really loves to quote and cite
Mhm.
large news and media publications.
Okay.
Like if The Guardian, BBC, CNN wrote about it, sometimes all of the top sources are these sites.
Okay.
And it cites a lot of Reddit and Wikipedia, but very little YouTube. In
Okay.
general, ChatGPT cites very little social media.
Okay.
Now, if you look at AI overviews or AI mode from Google, it loves to cite social media. Depending on the topic, you might see an Instagram, a TikTok, a Facebook in there as some of the top sources. This
Yes.
usually
Yes.
doesn't happen on ChatGPT. And then with Perplexity, Perplexity loves YouTube.
Mhm.
And by the way, Google AI mode and AI overviews also love YouTube, but there might be a little bit of favorism
Gemini
going
too.
on.
Gemini is reading YouTube videos. It's incredible. Like Gemini is reading all of my episodes, and thank God for that. But it's
Yeah,
incredible. I can't believe it. Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. Sorry, continue.
Perplexity is doing the same. They
Okay.
get the transcript of the YouTube videos.
Okay.
I recently recorded a fake video where I talked about random stuff and then just checked which of the LLMs can probably pick up what is
I did.
only said in the video.
Okay.
And yeah, Perplexity and Gemini can get
Okay.
the transcript.
Okay.
And then Perplexity really likes official websites like university websites, non-profit organization, governmental websites. And this is also, of course, always dependent on the topic. Like, of course, if you ask about makeup or clothes targeted toward Gen Z or Gen Alpha, you will always get a lot of social media sources in all of the LLMs. And if you ask very political questions or details about how certain laws are to be interpreted, or how many lectures has this dean at that university given, and of course all of the LLMs will cite university websites. But in general, there are some differences. But what all of them are doing is they also cite official brand websites. So if you are a brand, the kind of content you have on your website is very relevant for how you are perceived by the LLMs.
That's very, very true. So essentially, Peak is defining a completely new category of analytics. It seems like that. I'm confused. What KPIs should marketeers like yourself be tracking in AI search? AI share of voice, citation influence. What should AI marketers be tracking now?
Yeah, it depends again.
Okay.
I think, yes, if like market share or visibility or share of voice, like is my brand mentioned in the answers, and then what percentage of the answer is it mentioned is one important thing. I would also look at the sentiment in those answers, especially in relation to my competitors.
Okay.
I would also check how often is my own domain the source.
Okay.
That is also very relevant,
Cool.
again, especially in relation to competitors. And then I would also check the top sources. In how many of them is my brand mentioned?
Okay.
And if I have that covered, in how many of them is my brand mentioned as the number one, number two brand, especially if it's like these listicle style articles.
Okay.
And then another thing you can check is, of course, how much traffic do you get from LLMs in your web analytics? But since LLMs often don't give you a link, especially for a B2B business, what I was always recommend is if you have like a contact form or a lead form where people sign up, ask them where they heard about you. I recently had a case with one of our partner agencies where, according to their web analytics, they had 0% of clicks coming
Wow.
from ChatGPT, 0% of leads, sorry.
Okay.
And then they started to add a form and ask people, where did you hear about us? 2% found them via Perplexity and 21% via ChatGPT. So almost a quarter of their leads is already coming from LLMs, but it was completely invisible in their web analytics because the LLMs were only recommending their brand. And that's it. And then there was no link. So people either typed their brand name into Chrome, or maybe they did a Google search.
Peak is so this is what Peak is trying to solve, basically, give you as accurate data as possible, which is coming from the LLMs. This is what since essentially Peak is trying. I see.
Yes.
And it's so crucial. It's so important because billions of people are going to be using AIs for their everything. I use ChatGPT for everything now, literally everything. My mom and dad are using ChatGPT for everything. And but there's some generations which will need time to adapt to the traditional way of searches. But I think it's just going to happen. I don't know anybody, for example, who uses a phone book or an online phone book now, for example. So yes, I think it's changing forever and it's going to be interesting. And now a lot of viewers of WP Legends run WordPress websites. 45% of internet is running on WordPress. How important is WordPress to you? And any in simple words tips or advice you would give to people all over the world considering trying to rank using the three big SEO plugins, AIO SEO, RankMath. Now there's another one called SEO Press. Anything they can do to improve their rankings?
I mean, I used to run all of my websites on WordPress, but
Okay.
I've been out of the WordPress game for a couple of years.
Okay.
So I can't recommend any specific plugin.
Okay.
I would say from the technical side, everything you do for SEO will also help you with visibility in ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Co.
Okay.
So if you do what is good for SEO, you are laying the foundation, basically.
Okay.
And there is no secret LLMO or GEO plugin you install and suddenly everything becomes better. If you notice that you are never being cited, even though you rank for these keywords, you should, of course, double check. Are you maybe blocking these crawlers? Or do you have a very JavaScript heavy theme where the main content is hidden behind JavaScript without any kind of server-side caching or rendering? Then that would be something to explore. Or is your website very, very slow? Because many times the LLMs, they download your website and generate the answer. So they don't have time to wait 5 seconds to download your website. And some of these crawlers, they come without executing JavaScript. So that you should check that your website works without it. Yeah. I would have advised that also just for general SEO purposes.
Of course.
But for some of these LLMs, it's really a deal breaker. Like your visibility goes to 0 basically.
And what about backlinks? What about backlinks? Because I know they're important, but considering this new way people are searching all over the world, how essential or not essential are backlinks and guest posts, in your words?
So backlinks are still essential, but a little bit less. Because when these fan-out queries are produced, some documents are taken from a traditional web search. What is very important for that? Backlinks, right? So if you have a brand new domain with 0 backlinks, you are not even going to be in the pool of candidate documents because ChatGPT cannot download every document that has the name coffee, the word coffee in the title, right? It's too many. They need the top 100 documents, and backlinks are still a great database to base such a retrieval on. So backlinks are slightly less important, but still very important.
Yeah.
And guest posts, they can have 2 functions. They can give you a backlink. Okay, we know that, boring. But there's a second thing they can do. If you write a guest post about a certain topic, this guest post itself can also become a document that is being cited. And that is actually very, very powerful, because if you write 5 good guest posts on very reputable websites, it doesn't even matter if you get a backlink or not. Just if you mention your own brand in a positive context in these guest posts, if 3 of those guest posts end up being the source for a prompt, you already own 3 of the
That's true.
sources.
That's true. No backlink is not necessary. The citation is the more crucial part, basically. And that can only happen
Yes.
if you have authenticity in whatever is your service or product offering. And I think that's what everybody needs to understand in this new age of getting ranked on Google or GEO, as you quote over and over again, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you think Peak is gonna ever, or maybe having some new features, or maybe would ever consider making a plugin, whether it's for Shopify or WordPress, because they're pretty big and had a huge, larger share of the market? Do you ever think that's gonna happen?
We have been thinking about that.
Okay.
I think right now is not the right time for us. We
Okay.
are a small team. We need to make sure not to get distracted.
Okay.
But yes, of course, that's an option to do
Tell us
a
about your team.
WordPress or
How are they spread?
Shopify plugin at some point.
Tell us about your team. How are they spread? Are you going to office? Is it a remote team at Peak?
It's in office in
Okay.
Berlin, in Germany.
Okay.
We are right now 18 people.
Mhm.
Maybe somebody signed yesterday, and we are 19 now.
Okay.
And we will grow to about 40 people in the coming months.
Oh, wow. So you're pretty
And
good with pretty strong growth rates. And tell us about your customer mix. Are they agencies, direct customers? Like, what kind of a mix do you have?
yeah, we have about 1,200, 1,300 customers right now.
Okay.
And all of these we acquired in the last 10 months since the company was founded.
Okay.
It's roughly a 50-50 mix, agencies and like in-house teams.
Okay.
Agencies typically start very small and then grow. Like, we have agencies that grow by that they add like 1 client per week almost.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of demand for this topic at the moment. So
I
there are
understand
some agencies.
and it's not inexpensive also. It is the price point is not for everybody, basically. It's for people those who are mature. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And I
Right.
mean, we have a pretty affordable entry price with slightly less than $100 per month.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then the other 50% is like in-house teams. But there it's really all over the place. There's a bit of a cluster around B2B SaaS, B2B services, because I think they have a customer journey where they feel already that some of the research is shifting into ChatGPT. But then it's also very random brands from all over the place. Like, we have the United Nations as a client. We have Chanel.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty good.
A couple of companies in the travel space, a couple of airlines. Yeah, I mean,
you
the topic is
you can happily add Seahawk Media to this also. I'm pretty impressed with what you guys are doing, and I know what you're trying to do. I have a burning question though. PPC and ads are going to be part of the AI ecosystem. They already kind of are. I think they're experimenting with a few countries. Are you prepared for that as well? Tracking
Yes, we are
PPC?
thinking a lot about that topic, and we have been monitoring it a while.
It's
How
inevitable, right? It's inevitable, right? Like Google ads, ChatGPT ads, Perplexity ads. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
inevitable.
I'm not 100% sure. So I think it could be that, for example, ChatGPT doesn't do ads for the paid subscribers.
True.
I could imagine it is something that's only done to the non-paid subscribers.
Mhm.
And I think there are ways for them to do ads that are not super intrusive. Like, for example, if you do an e-commerce search, you often have this product grid.
Okay.
And then if you click on it, there are like up to 3 shops. And ChatGPT could just charge an affiliate commission to these shops. Then it would be a form of advertising, where as a user, my user experience is not really influenced. Especially if I don't even have to go to the shop, if ChatGPT just goes there and orders it for me.
Yep, it's happening. It's already happening with the agent mode. I've tried it out. It works not 100% perfectly, but 99% it's there. I would say that.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive
It
already.
is. It is. It is. It is. No doubt about that. And you, in your personal life, your role, you've been a leader, a consultant, a SEO lead, so many hats, etc. Now you're a startup's executive. How different has it been for you suddenly in this role?
Oh, completely different. In my previous job, I was leading a team of 40 people.
Mm.
And so I had a roster of team leads reporting to me.
Mm.
And now, when I started, it was basically me doing product alone and trying to help out with marketing, where there was one person. So it's a lot more hands-on, but also decisions are made so much faster. Like I'm coming from a 1,000-people company where sometimes if I wanted to build a feature, I had to spend 9 months just lobbying with other executives to get buy-in, and then having the discussion which team implements it, which sprint, how do we align the two teams that work, and then it would take another 6 months to implement it. And here, when we have a good idea, we just implement it the same week sometimes. And that is
that you like,
just,
I can see in your eyes that you love it. You love that.
yeah,
that you
I
get,
do.
Let's get going. New feature. Let's get going.
It's
So it's I can safely say that for you, I was about to ask you a question like, what's been harder for you, whether it's been building products or advocating or marketing for that product. So what's been harder for you? And I think I know the answer now.
building the product is always harder. It's so much harder. When I started, I only wanted a CMO role. I didn't want a CPO role. But then I think after 1 or 2 weeks, we realized, okay, I actually can add a lot of value on the product side. And I've been offered product leadership roles also at other companies before. And once I accepted it at Searchmetrics, but at other companies I declined. And I said, like, no, this is like the worst role in the company, because you say no to most requests, so everybody hates you. And then when you ship something, it's not your success, right? It's the work of the designers, the engineering team. So I think if you work in product, you very rarely get any credit, but you always get all of the stress, and you need to make hard decisions every day.
Good point. Good point. I agree. I think I kind of agree with you. I know a lot of people in product and they're behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, but behind the scenes. So
Yeah. So the marketing part is the much more fun, much more interesting, much more rewarding,
got it.
I think, than the product part.
We're about to come up on time, so I've got some final rapid fire questions for you. But before I start that, you mentioned marketing. How important is for Peak is going to be partnerships and affiliates in the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years?
I don't know, is my honest answer.
You're just starting out on that, maybe soon.
Yes, I mean, there are of course many interesting partnerships.
Okay.
But I also see, I mean, a big part of partnerships is influencers and creators. And I see so many influencers right now who recommend one product the one week, and then they get a slightly better affiliate deal with the other, and then they recommend the next product and the next product. I think we have to be very selective in finding like good long-term partnerships that actually work, are actually a good fit. I'm not a fan of this, let's grow the product by just giving everyone our affiliate link, which used to be a strategy a while ago, right? Like it worked for Dropbox, for example, when you would get a free, I think 1 free month for every user you would get them or something. Like I think people will become fed up if like every product has like 5,000 partners.
I think so. That's a good point.
These change all the time.
I think it's a very good point, and that's the reason I actually conceptualized WP Legends also. Completely unbiased, unscripted interviews, and you can vouch for that. Everybody else on the show can vouch for that. We never favor anyone. I've been backed by Hosting.com, a few other sponsors, only to help grow the show. And I think the authenticity is very crucial, because when it comes to influencers and affiliate marketers, people are mooching off hosting companies from one host to another. I know this for a fact, for making $150 per client to move from person. And that is completely ridiculous. So I think, yes, maybe if you have 1 or 2 partnerships is fine, as long as they can actually add value long term, not just for like a couple of months. And you have a great product, and I'm excited to test drive the full set of features in my head of marketing also. So that's that. Now, for the rapid fire questions, the first and fun one for you, okay? Site speed or schema markup, which moves the needle more as per you?
Site speed.
Really? Explain, please, if you can.
If the website is slow, people don't want to use it. It's more difficult for Google to crawl it. It can
Yeah.
completely kill the conversion rate if your
Got it.
website is slow.
Got it. And favorite tool in your stack besides Speak, of course, when it comes to SEO? What else?
Any tool or SEO tool?
Any tools, including SEO. Go for it.
Linear.
Okay. Okay. Really?
I've had to use Jira for the last 10 years,
Mhm.
and now Linear is like mind-blowingly
Completely
better.
changed
Like
game changer.
it's quick. You have exactly the features you need, not so much bloat, and you have so many hotkeys to make it super, super quick. I'm very much in love with Linear.
And any thing which you think to get ranked on Google, page one. Okay, rank number one. Let me ask you this. Okay, rank number one or get cited first. What would you prefer?
Ranked number one.
Really? Because it's going to get picked up by LLM anyways. That's why maybe.
I mean, people are still using Google, and
After all.
so right now, I would pick the number one keyword, number one ranking on Google.
Okay, and you're using ChatGPT for everything you search first, personally. But the personally finding a plumber, doing anything, or are you still using mishmash?
Not everything, but I would say 80 to 90% ChatGPT. Yes.
Really? And most important part, of course, they're the big two SEO search tools. Big three, sorry, Moz, Ahrefs, SEMrush. Peak is kind of like a competitor, but only for one particular segment. Is that correct? Just for the
Yes.
the add-on, because they're charging an add-on, and I have subscriptions with both Ahref and SEMrush. I don't have a Moz or Majestic, but I've used them in the past, but I don't need them. But tell me, like, are you just competing with that part as of now, or anything else as well? The add-ons.
As of now, we are only
Yeah.
competing with that part. Yes.
But it's a hardcore competition, right? With those add-ons with the same citation level, etc. And it's a race now, kind of.
It's a very competitive market. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm currently tracking 140 startups in the space that
Oh.
offer some form of AI visibility tracking.
Oh wow! Oh wow! I'm glad to host you then, and I can explain to the world that listen, I've used Peak unbiased completely, and the little time I spent on it, it is mind blowing. I must say that, and I'm very very excited to test it out more. But anyways, thank you so much for being on my show today. Thank you for accepting the invite and explaining to the world about your journey, Peak, and a lot of other golden nuggets which we got from this episode. And I'm very excited to have a round two with you in a few months from now and continue this conversation forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, have a nice one.